Serious? Has a friend done said something that just straight up ended the friendship? What happened? At the pub one night with a group of friends. This guy I kind of know was there with his fairly new girlfriend. This black guy comes over and talks to her for a minute. Just saying hi, how are you doing kind of thing. Guy says to his GF, how do you know him? GF says we used to date a few years ago. Guy looks really uncomfortable. Pauses for a minute. Then blurts out, did you duck him? GF says let's talk about this later. Guy says because if you ducked him we're through. I don't take any sloppy seconds. She asked me to poke around in her husband's life for proof that he was cheating. 4 months she asked me. I finally gave in. Found proof. In process of gaining proof. Husband started trying to hook up with me. Saved texts and email he had sent. Showed everything to her. She called me a lying itch and said I faked it all because I wanted to sleep with her husband. Instantly dropped her as a friend. Don't have time for crazy. Many years ago when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. My sister found out she lost her baby at the same time. To keep my family from worrying about me and to give my sister time to emotionally heal, I decided to wait till the 12-week mark to tell my family. I couldn't keep the news to myself though. So I told 3 of my friends and told them to keep it a secret and why they needed to. The 12-week mark rolls around and my parents say that they already know because one of my friends told them. I confront this friend. She denies it. Another friend who knew called her on her bullshit. So she finally admitted it. She said she thought my parents deserved to know and that I wouldn't even have to keep the pregnancy a secret if I weren't such a sloot who got pregnant only months into marriage. Then she went batshit. Broke into the home of the friend who called her out and stole a ton of stuff. So she lost 2 friends that day. And from what people tell me, she's been slowly losing the few she has left. He told me I owed him because he was nice to me after my mom died. That's not how friendship works. You don't keep score. She asked for a favor and mates rates when she was getting married for me to do her wedding photography. I agreed and did her a really cheap deal. But I worked full time at the time. So told her it'd be several weeks before I'd be able to get through editing them all. She was impatient. Itched about it on Facebook. And complained when they weren't ready after she came back from her honeymoon. Once I'd given her the photos, I cut her out of my life. Had this one friend in university. We actually became good buddies. I went and spent Easter with his family and things like that. Well, we had a rugby formal dinner. And as you'd imagine there was an open bar and people got messy. There was this girl who went. Her date and her split up somewhere along the line. And she got really drunk. This friend of mine latched onto her. And she was too drunk to know where she was. I told him that it wasn't a good idea to try and hook up with her given her state. He said if I don't hit it, someone else will. Something like that. I ended up speaking with another girl who was a friend of mine at the dinner and had her take the girl home with her. I didn't ever speak to that dude again. Edit, school to college. And a bit of grammar. One of my best friends asked me to buy a shirt for him on my credit card. Okay. He said he would pay me at the end of the month. Between these dates, we went out one day. And by the end of the night, he said he lost the shirt, he brought it along. Because he was going to change later. The next day, he would say he lost it in my car. And since I didn't find it, he wouldn't pay me because he lost in my car. Okay then. Duck you too. A guy I had known for 3 years, all in college. Met him as a freshman, and was a fraternity brother of mine. Texted me one morning with pictures of a drunk girl that had passed out in his fraternity room on his bed. Selfies of him grinning like an ass and groping her as she lay on his bed. Passed out. Completely severed a 3-year friendship to the point where I couldn't even talk to him. And he was only a few doors down the hall from me. Did you tell anyone else about this? Yup. Told the girl the next day plus showed her the pictures. Spoke with the frat president and he and some of the other officers refused to allow my ex-friend to renew his lease for his room in the frat house. The girl didn't want to press charges, so I left it at that for her. I was engaged and I asked a guy who I had been really good friends with for several years if he would be one of the groomsmen at my wedding. He started laughing out loud and just said, "No, I'm not going to be one of the groomsmen at your wedding." His response shocked me, and it made me feel really embarrassed for having asked. Haven't seen him since that day. One of my best friends from high school. Later a roommate for a long time. He and I were seriously like brothers. People always commented on how rare it was to see one of us without the other. He ended up being a rapist, so duck him. One of my friends once insulted my sister, and I gave her a warning. She did it again a little while later and I got pissed and called her out. The next day at lunch, this was high school, I invited my sister to come sit with us. And my sister sat in the place this girl usually sat. There was no room for her there anymore and she had to go sit at another table. No one talks shit about my sister. My roommates and I had a bad habit of leaving our door unlocked in our freshman dorm. One day our friend comes over noticing the door is unlocked, comes inside to hang out assuming someone is there. Upon realizing no one is home he decides to take my laptop. Now in possession of my laptop, which is registered with the university because all computers that connect to their Wi-Fi have to be. He without changing or erasing anything connects to the Wi-Fi and begins using away. He was promptly caught and arrested. And my laptop was returned to me. I have no idea how he is doing now because he got shunned and I quite frankly don't care. A colleague I knew through university and I became pretty okay friends over the course of our 2 years together in school. One day we were hanging out at lunch and a transgender woman in the beginning of her transition walked by. My friend said, "Duck." What the duck? I didn't know we let ducking trans into this school. Little did he know that I myself am transgender and that woman he insulted was a close friend of mine that had just started coming out to people, with me being one of the first. At that point I decided to end the friendship because I'm not gonna stick around and deal with someone that hates me for who I am. I had this happen with a friend I had known for a couple of years. We met at work, instantly clicked, and ended up being pretty good friends outside of work. He was warm, funny, witty, outgoing, and basically one of those life of the party types of people. Not only did I not know anyone who didn't like him, but most of the people he knew seemed to adore him. So one day, this really sweet mutual friend of ours, who happened to be from Thailand, brings him a gift. It was some special recipe of hers that she had made just for him. He gets all excited, thanks her, hugs her, etc. And she leaves. When she's far enough away that she can't hear him, he laughs and says, "Like I'm going to eat that chink's food." I was stunned. I didn't know what to say and finally just asked, "Did you really just say that?" He laughed and shrugged his shoulders. I wouldn't let it go and kept questioning him about until he said she's nice. But they're all the same. They're dirty too. So I hope you don't eat any of her food. The conversation went a little further than that because I remember him admitting that he hates pretty much any other race or minority group. It was a really disappointing experience and really made me question my judgment because I did not see that coming at all. I guess he's gotten pretty good at hiding it and thought we were close enough that he could finally be openly racist with me. It's probably best that she miscarried. I don't think you guys should be having kids together. Good ducking, bye. Former best friend. Good ducking, bye. Friends like that suck. I have been with my boyfriend for 8 years. We saved money for a wedding, decided it was stupid to spend thousands of dollars on a wedding, so we bought a house. We got pregnant back in February and lost the baby in April. I told one of my really close friends and she said, "Well, you aren't married, so that's God's way of punishing you." I was shocked considering she cheated on her boyfriend of 6 years 3 times. Never told him. And then married him. 10-year friendship down the drain. We'd be having our baby any day now. I found out 10 years after a buddy stopped talking to me acting weird around me that it was because he thought I slept with his ex-girlfriend after they split. Capital I. Up. Did not. I barely knew the girl. Absolutely no idea why he would even think it. High school was weird. I had a really good friend. He would help me out with shit through bad times and good. My mother has Alzheimer's and he was aware of that. And he would usually understand if I had to miss some stuff with him because I had to take care of my brothers or something along those lines. One day he had something that he really wanted me to come to, some sort of awards sheet, by my mother and father were going to Duke to get what was basically a checkup. I told him that I couldn't make his event and he was upset and pissed. Next day I saw him and he said he was tired of my bullshit. He said that I needed to stop using my mother as an excuse. And that she was going to die anyway because they would never find a cure. I punched him in the ducking face. I could understand why he would be upset but he crossed the line. This will get buried but it's nice to get out. Edit. Thanks so much you guys. The kind words and support have made my day. Changed a word too. I am a strong agnostic with religious folk in my family. An atheist friend of over 20 years told me that religion has no value to anyone. When I told him it helped my mother to face her death, he reiterated his stance. I asked him if his opinion was that important. He informed me his opinions were facts. End of friendship. My best friend of 7 years. First week of 7th grade he said to me, "You are no longer my friend. You're so lame and boring and nothing cool at your house. Don't talk to me anymore." In the weeks to follow, he vandalized my locker and twice slashed my bike tires at school. He wrote on my locker and on my bike seat, "Not my friend," after doing this. Fast forward to high school graduation. He sat next to me. He felt extremely awkward and a few bird droppings landed on his graduation cap. He didn't notice. But I did. I didn't say a word and my friend and I kept blurting out loud bird shit jokes to each other. He received his diploma and family took his photo with bird crap all over his cap. Nothing. Just straight up cut me out of their life. That ended the friendship pretty quick. But there. One day got an email from what I considered my best friend saying I was no longer welcome in her life. No idea why. Took me years to get past that. And on some level it still hurts. We are both adult. Married. Professional women. If that matters. Miso at the time asked my best friend for naked photos of her. She obliged and then requested some of him in return. I had to pop over to her house to grab some of my stuff and I found the stacks of photos. Both hers and his. She was living with her parents at the time. 18 but in high school. I gave the stack of photos to her dad as I walked out of the house. Never spoke to her again. I understand that her parents went ballistic and she no longer speaks to my ex, neither do I, and she hasn't apologized yet. I was that guy once. I was studying in Berlin and was in the process of making new friends. One of my first weekends there I was hanging out with another American kid. The two of us just chilling eating some ice cream on the side of the street when my friend mentions his grandfather liberated Berlin during WWII as part of the Red Army. I instantly thought of the atrocities committed by the Soviets at the end of the war and blurt out, "I wonder if he raped anyone?" Long silence ensued. Followed by, "Why would you say that?" Felt like a total jackass and apologized profusely, but what was done was done. Things were awkward after that and we stopped hanging out. I was at an ultimate frisbee tournament in NJ with my team. We had 2 rooms and we crammed at least 8 into each one. After some partying, alcohol and the like, we started to settle down and get some rest. Because there were so many of us we had to cram 3 onto a pull-out couch. It was a female friend of mine, who I admittedly had a crush on, sandwiched between me and another of my friends that I played Ultimate in college with. As we were falling asleep he started to try and get frisky with her. And she took her hands off herself and then he started to get aggressive. He must have thought I was asleep. I was not. Homie, don't play that. So I just lost it and crawled over her to get to him. In his drunken stupor he must have thought that I was trying to get it on with her because he had the audacity to say, "Hey man, you're stealing my girl." I couldn't do anything but laugh at his obvious ignorance, and I switched places with her so she was on the end. I obviously couldn't fall asleep after that because I had to stand watch. He didn't sleep in the room for the rest of the weekend. I always knew he was an idiot. But when you see someone basically try and grape your friend, you get a bit pissed. I kept my eye on him for the rest of the weekend and never talked to him again after that. I was in my first year of college and I had a best friend I met in high school, whom I thought was the best person in the world. She was like the sister I never had. I'm an only child. We went to her boyfriend's friend's party and we smoked a little, drank a little. Nothing crazy, just enough to have a little buzz going. We played some music, sang along, talked about random things, ate some pizza, and slowly the party began to die down. Out of nowhere her boyfriend's friend starts trying to kiss me and I yelled no and pushed him off. He then proceeds to try to go further, and I'm whining and yelling no, trying to push him off me again. Meanwhile my best friend makes out with her boyfriend right next to us. I start asking for help and her boyfriend and her just keep making out and whatnot. I somehow was able to push the guy down on the ground. I kicked him in the stomach, grabbed her car keys, she drove us to the party, and ran out of the area we were at. As I was looking for my purse I told her, "I am leaving now. Come or stay, I don't care, I am taking your car home." She decided to leave with me, and the stupid bitch still slept over at my house. And I don't know why, but the next morning while I was making myself breakfast I also made her something to eat. After that day, I never spoke to her again. She sent me a message at one point saying that I flirted with the guy at the beginning of the party and so it was all my fault. Years later she sent another one apologizing, but I would never speak to this person again. In college, friends I had made on my floor were driving. They start talking about niggas and how they are ruining everything by moving up the hill. I sit in stony silence in the back seat of the car. We get back to the dorm and they say, "Katson, why are you so quiet? You are normally so talkative." I turned on them and started screaming how they were racist and I didn't want anything to do with them. Never spoke to them again. Yep. This girl had been my best friend for 2 years in college and in one weekend ruined our friendship. I was going out one night and she had just had her wisdom teeth taken out a few days before and couldn't, so I let her use my car to go hang with some friends because I felt bad. The only thing I asked was to park it back in my parking lot so I wouldn't get a ticket. She totally ignored my request and the next morning there was a parking ticket on my windshield. I got pretty upset with her and told her she had to pay it. She tried to talk her way out of it and it pissed me off even more, so I walked away and didn't talk to her for a few days. When I tried to go apologize for how I reacted and tell her a parking ticket wasn't worth our friendship, she flat out told me I'm too stressed and don't have time to talk to you right now and that I was my fault there was a ticket because it's my car. Continued to ignore me for a week. That right here let me know that I wasn't important to her and I went my own way. One day my best friend showed me pure, genuine envy instead of being happy for me. I was happy about my relationship starting. I married that girl and she's my wife now. He told me I didn't deserve such happiness. The day after this show off I ended our 10+ years friendship.